Hello boys and girls. Today Katherine is going to make a Christmas pudding. There are lots of things that go into a Christmas pudding. So it's a good idea if you write out the ingredients from the recipe into the half cup, the quarter cup, the things that are a tablespoon, and do it that way. It makes it easier. Okay, so first we're going to look at our utensils. We need a chopping board for chopping things, a measuring cups, measuring spoons, a glass bowl or a small bowl, some utensils, cutlery, a spoon, a knife, a peeler, a wooden spoon, that sort of thing, a grater, a juice extractor, and there are different kinds, a big bowl for mixing your pudding, and of course the pudding bowls themselves. Okay, so the recipe that we are doing here today is for this size bowl. It's called the pint bowl. Okay, that size. And then if you want to double the recipe, for that size bowl. Okay, so we're just going to do this size bowl, which is the one we do in school. Okay, so we're going to begin. I'll leave that over there. We're going to begin with our big bowl, and we're going to put various things into it. Now, what I want to show you is that I have grouped my ingredients into groups so that it'll make it easier for me. So here I have a half cup of breadcrumbs straight into my bowl, a half cup of raisins. Okay, and just make sure that they are actually full. A half cup of raisins, a half cup of sultanas. And then what are sultanas and raisins and currants? What are those called? They're actually dried grapes. It's important to remember that, okay? And a half cup of mixed fruit as well, okay? So they're all the halves done. So then we move on to the quarter cup. Now in pudding, you have alcohol, okay? You have stout, and you also have whiskey. So you must have an adult with you when you're doing this, okay? You must have an adult to help you make a Christmas pudding and to put the alcohol in, okay? So we are putting in a quarter cup of stout, okay? And it can be any one of them, Murphy's, Beamish, anyone at all. You pour that in, okay? So we also need a quarter cup. I'll put this just slightly over here. You also need a quarter cup of apple, right? And I have the apple in the lemon juice in the water, the same as we did for apple crumble. So you're just going to grate about a quarter cup of it. Have a look, now another bit. Okay, that's about right, I'd say. We'll just check it now. It's always good to keep your measurements, okay? So I actually have a bit much there, okay? So we'll put that into our bowl, and that's left over for now for the next pudding. Okay, so a quarter cup of brown sugar as well. Okay, that goes into our bowl as well. A quarter cup of flour. Okay, that goes in. All right, so that's all the quarter cups done. So then we have a quarter teaspoon of mixed spice and cinnamon. Now, if you had something like nutmeg or any of those things, it really doesn't matter. Just some nice spicy flavors. We're also going to put in 6 cherries, and we're going to chop those nice and small. Right, so I'm going to get my knife, and it's easy to chop cherries, so you can use a kitchen knife and chop them nice and small. And that goes straight in as well. Okay, and if there's something that's listed in the recipe, just put in something else if you don't like it, you know. There's no problem with pudding like this. You can just mix it up. Okay, so bringing back the bowl there now so that you can see. Now I'm moving on to this side to the tablespoons, okay? So I have a tablespoon of melted margarine. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of whiskey. Now a tablespoon is literally half a quarter cup. In other words, there are 2 tablespoons in a quarter cup. So I'm just using this as a guide. Just fill it halfway, and that's your drop of whiskey into that. Right, we also have a tablespoon of ground almonds. Okay, and a tablespoon of mixed nuts. Now I've lots of nuts in here, and a good idea for crushing nuts is to use your rolling pin and a bag. Just do it gently like that to crush them up, to make them nice and small. All right, so a tablespoon is 2 dessert spoons. So 2 dessert spoons of nuts going in here. So there's walnuts and almonds and Brazil nuts in there. Okay, I also need a tablespoon, 2 dessert spoons of lemon juice. Okay, so be sure to check. I think I've forgotten something. Can you think of what it might be? It's the egg. Okay, so crack your egg and beat it with the fork. And pop it in. Okay, so it's a very good idea then to just get your recipe or your list that you have made and just run through and make sure that everything that's on your list has gone in. Now there's mixed peel on my list, and I'm just not putting that in. It's a tablespoon of mixed peel because my family don't like peel, but you know, I'll put in an extra bit of nuts because we love nuts. So 2 dessert spoons of nuts instead of the peel. Okay, so that's everything. So now all I have to do now is mix it. Okay, so you have your mixture there. And you just mix the whole thing up. So it may look a little bit wet, like it's looking now. But that's fine because the fruit, the sultanas, the raisins, the currants and so on, they swell and absorb the whiskey and the stout and the lemon juice, the breadcrumbs and all of that, and you get a lovely pudding. Okay, so that's your pudding. So we then get the bowl, and it's important when you're filling the bowl that you push it down, that you make sure you get the air out of it as much as you can. And that helps it to keep longer too. Oh, it's a gorgeous smell from it. Now I'm scraping hot. What utensil could I have here to do the scraping for me? I could use my spatula, couldn't I? So it's just right coming up to the line. So there you see the pudding, that's the pudding. So now we're going to make a cover for it. We're going to have greaseproof paper and tin foil. Now, covering a plum pudding is a little bit tricky, getting it ready for boiling, okay? So you have a piece of greaseproof paper. Make sure it's big enough and a good bit wider than the bowl. And you have tin foil and you have greaseproof paper, okay? So put them on top of each other like that and make a pleat, okay? And the reason you make a pleat, now you will need an adult to help you with this, right? You make a pleat like that, and it means that as the pudding is steaming, when the steam is trying to get out, the pleat allows the space for the paper to spread a bit, and then it goes back again. So you have a pleat like that in it. Can you see it? Yeah. And you put it down on top of the pudding. Okay. And you see, we do this every year in school, so you're used to it. Okay. And then you get a very long piece of twine, and we're going to tie that tightly. Now it's a good idea again to have two people doing this. One person can pop, right, so pull it as tight as you can. And then one person could put a finger there for you. And you tie the second knot, okay? I'm holding it there and I pull it really tight again. So now I'm going to bring it across then, and I'm going to hook it in under my twine here, which is tight, and I'm going to make myself a little handle. So I can put my pudding in and out of the saucepan without burning myself. Okay, so again, put a good knot on it. Okay, so there you can see the pleat is on it. Now I must just get my scissors. And I'm going to trim, because this will be trailing inside in the water. I'm going to trim it up to about 2 to 3, well, maybe 3 centimeters, so that it's not. Now you could make one of these for a present. You could make it for your grandmother, your grandfather, or your auntie, or your uncle, or just for yourselves at home. So there you have it. There's your plum pudding ready to go into the saucepan. So we pop it into the saucepan. We'll bring the water up to about here in the pudding, and you want to steam it for about 3 hours, and then heat it up for half an hour, maybe on Christmas Day. But you need to let it simmer away. And remember, we talked about simmering and boiling. Let it simmer away nicely, and make sure that the water doesn't boil off. Okay, again, you'll need the help of an adult for this. So put in your water, put on your lid, and put on your pudding. Okay, so I will cook that later on, and I'll show it to you when it's done.